All right, all right. Here we go. Delving into lesson 214 in the workbook for students. All right. Who's ready? Everyone. Oh, fantastic. Me too. So we're in the midst of a review period. We're reviewing 20 lessons, and through lesson 220, we will be working with the central idea, the theme of this review period, which is, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. If you've been following along day by day in these videos, you will have memorized this theme, this statement by now. It's a statement of truth. It's deeply resonant and has some rhyme in there so that we can memorize it more easily. But beyond that, it's true. Reality, truth with a capital T, has nothing whatsoever to do with bodies. It has nothing whatsoever to do with this thing that you see on the screen right now, that you hear talking to you right now. It has nothing to do with the labels that we put on this thing, such as human, man, woman, pronouns, he, him, she, her, they, them, it. Has nothing to do with any of that. We are not bodies. We are free, and we are still and always have been as God created us. So we sit with this central theme for as long as we like. When you carve out some time, be it a few minutes or longer, for these practices each day, it's recommended that you take whatever time feels good to you and speaks to you on this. This is very important, to allow this idea to permeate your thought system. A Course in Miracles is, by the way, a thought system. It's a system, it's a process by which we change our minds. We entertain ideas such as the central theme that we are not bodies, and we allow this truth gradually, if necessary, right, into our experience. We begin to live it. This is what spiritual practice is, in fact, all about. So let us not, in the interest of racing off to attend to the next task, I mean, your email is still going to be waiting for you, I promise you. It's not going anywhere, right? Your Twitter feed isn't going anywhere. The dishes aren't going anywhere. Yeah. It's worth it. It's well worth it to spend a little bit of time on this every day. And let's also not, please, fall into the trap of, hey, I've already done this. That's so yesterday, right? That's so last year. Yeah, I mean, we have those moments, don't we, where we say, oh, I've seen that already. Give me something new. Well, yes, you have seen it. Have you completely integrated it into your life? If the answer to that, honest answer, is no, you have not, then we need to see it again. And this is why spirituality is repetitive. Doesn't matter the tradition, it's all repetitive, isn't it? We see the same things presented to us over and over again, sometimes in the same language, as with this language, sometimes in different ways. And Jesus does this throughout A Course in Miracles. He emphasizes certain points again and again and again. And this is simply one of those points, that we are not bodies. There is, in truth, more, way more to it than just this thing that we label a human being. So what do we do with this? Well, the body is highly useful, isn't it? It's highly useful given over to the purposes of the Holy Spirit, following A Course in Miracles. When we give the body over to the Holy Spirit completely, right, for its purposes, which is full awakening, it's the extension of love, forgiveness. Yes, when we give it over completely, it becomes a very powerful communication device. Think about it. It is, in fact, a communication device when we are involved in the world of ego clinging, when we're caught up in our own drama, our own BS. It's also a communication device, isn't it? We're communicating our insistence on the separation. Now, in the hands of the Holy Spirit, by the way, the gentle, loving hands, yes, the body becomes a powerful device for the extension of love. It becomes a powerful mirror for others to see themselves, their true self. That's what it's for. So each of us is invited, and if you prefer, and I know some of you do, prefer the word challenged, to give all of our experience, including the physical body, over to the Holy Spirit, or if you're following another spiritual tradition, to your guide or guides. If that's challenging, good. It is challenging to the ego, isn't it? The ego does not want you to do this. It's that voice saying, why would you do that? Why would you listen to this guy that's talking? He's full of shit. That kind of voice. And, well, you could choose to agree with that voice if you want to, or not, right? The key component to that is the power of decision in the present moment is yours. So let's take a look at the review idea for lesson 214. So it's reviewing lesson 194. I place the future in the hands of God. Let's talk about this. Yes, I place the future in the hands of God. When you allow yourself to think about it, you spend almost all of your time in the past or the future, don't you? We all do, yes. Human beings do this. We should say this. These things that we label human beings do that. Yeah. Think about it. How often do you find yourself dwelling on the past? I should have done this yesterday. Oh, I wish I had said so-and-so to so-and-so. I wish I hadn't shot somebody the middle finger on the freeway. I felt awful after that. I wish I hadn't yelled at my spouse. I wish I hadn't hurled a coffee mug across the kitchen. I wish that I had done this. I wish I had done that. How often do you find yourself in that frame of mind? Similarly, how often do you find yourself thinking about the future, thinking about 5 minutes from now, what it's going to be like when you get up and stretch, what the sales meeting on Monday is going to look like, how you're going to pay next week's bill that has not arrived yet. What will your spouse say or do in any situation? We often spend time worrying about the future. It's perfectly crystal clear and obvious, is it not, that the past is gone. Anyone could agree on that. At the same time, it's also very easy to gain complete agreement on the truth that the future is not yet here. So if the past is gone and therefore not here, and the future has not yet arrived and is not here, all that exists is now. All that exists is the present moment. There is tremendous power in today's idea of placing the future in the hands of God. We just spent a couple of minutes talking about giving the body over to the Holy Spirit or your guide or guides for its purposes, for their purposes of the extension of love, of shining love and light on every living thing, on forgiving, on showing up as love itself, capital L. This is what we do when we place the future in the hands of God. We give up our vain attempts to control it. This is what happens when people worry about the future. It is an attempt to manipulate and control things that do not exist. Because the future does not exist by definition, correct? It's not yet here. Our attempts to vainly manage it, categorize and control it, manipulate it, it's all an illusion. The future does not exist. It's not here. Now is the only time. So what do we do now? We place the future in the hands of God with a sense of confidence, yes, with a sense of trust. We relax into the present moment, saying, here, I place the future in your hands. I will no longer worry and fret about it. I will no longer allow it to cause me grave anxiety. I place it in your hands. This practice returns you to the present moment, the only moment that exists. There's an added component here that appears in the italics in lesson 214, a brief 4 or 5 sentence explanation of the day's review idea. I'd like to call your attention to sentence 4, which reads verbatim here. For what God gives can only be for good. For what God gives can only be for good. Perfect love simply is. God is, as we say in A Course in Miracles. God is. Perfect love, love with a capital L, is what God is. It is love. Love is not capable of hatred. Contrary to what many people in this world believe, contrary to what you may have been told growing up, or what you may have heard in certain circles in society in your lifetime, God is not out to get you. He's not out to get me. This fearful image of thunderbolts from Olympus, yes, thunderbolts from on high, a jealous, raving lunatic of a deity, casting people down at whim, chastising whom he will, blessing whom he will, selecting, picking and choosing. This is not reality. Love does not pick and choose. As we have seen throughout A Course in Miracles, we cannot reserve certain dislikes and hatreds for some groups of people. Love is wholly complete. If you find yourself experiencing something other than love, then you're experiencing fear. It's one or the other. Love does not parse out. Love does not love certain people or groups of people more than others. Love does not reserve a fiery hell for some or an icy hell for others. This is not the way God is. What God gives, life itself, can only be for good. The more you allow yourself to accept this idea, the less fear you will feel. Truly, the less fearful you will become, and it is liberating. The purpose of this or any spiritual practice is to liberate ourselves from fear. Now, as we've mentioned here on this video, sometimes that needs to be a very gradual drip, one moment at a time process. Well, it's technically possible to experience the holy instant, a flash of light, a flash of awakening, a quantum leap, so to speak. Well, it's technically possible to experience that right now. For most of us, we're not ready to experience that right now, and that's okay. This is where a gradual practice comes into play. This is where a daily ritual becomes oh so important. In A Course in Miracles, it's delving in to the workbook, contemplating the idea for the day, practicing it, and more importantly than any of that, applying it in your daily life when you remember to do it, of course, because there will be plenty of days where you don't, and that's okay. I've stated several times that in my own experience, I went through the workbook, especially the first time, practicing the day's idea as part of my morning ritual, which I had the morning ritual of coffee and journaling and meditation prior, actually, to discovering the course, or prior to the course's discovering me. That's the better way to put it. And I was able to incorporate it into the morning ritual, but as you know, many of these workbook lessons call for practice periods or remembering throughout the day. There are plenty of days where I flat forgot that. So if this speaks to you, you're definitely not alone. It's an opportunity for us to forgive ourselves. Yes, very, very, very important. Are you able to forgive yourself readily? I mean, the answer could be no, right? The answer could be no, because so often we are able to overlook error in anyone else but ourselves. When people say that we're our own worst critic, they're absolutely correct about that. So it's an opportunity presented on a platter, really. It's a gift, an opportunity for us to forgive ourselves, as well as the world, as well as other people, as well as the cat for throwing up in the kitchen, everything, everything. As we go through one of these practice periods in this particular review period, again, at the end, as it indicates in the text here, in the written text of the workbook, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And, well, you are. Thanks for joining me.